Welcome to the 12-Minute Leadership Podcast, where in 12 minutes or less, I'll share small things that you can put into immediate practice that will make a big difference in your leadership effectiveness. I'm your host, Elise Boggs-Morales, leadership professor, consultant, and coach. For the last 17 years, I have helped thousands of leaders level up their influence and achieve remarkable results. If you want to trade compliance for true commitment and create your dream team, you are in the right place. Get ready for a quick hit of practical wisdom to increase your team's engagement, inspire top performance, and retain your best talent. Ready to level up your influence and get better results? 12 minutes starts now.
Hi everyone, Elise here. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about something that is both incredibly simple and incredibly difficult sometimes in our leadership, and that is leadership presence. Not charisma, not stage presence, not personality, but the ability to be fully here with the people and moments in front of you. Because in a world of constant urgency and distraction and overload, presence has become one of the rarest and most powerful leadership qualities there is. So today, we're going to talk about why leadership presence is challenging, why it matters so much, and what you can do to create more of it in your leadership practice. And all of the podcast content is inspired by my real work with leaders. And over the past couple weeks, I have been traveling a lot, and I've noticed something. When I'm delivering a training or a keynote or even meeting with a client for breakfast, how they show up with me is almost always how they show up with their team. The leaders I've been interacting with lately have had their phones down, laptops closed, and have given me and others around them their undivided attention. And this is actually a very rare quality with many busy leaders, but the culture these types of leaders create is second to none in terms of engaging people performing well, and keeping really good talent. So inspired by some very positive experiences lately, I thought a podcast about leadership presence was timely and applicable to any leader who wants to create a great culture. So let's start by talking about why leadership presence is so challenging. In a nutshell, we are busy. Our calendars are stacked. We're receiving constant notifications. Decisions need to be made nonstop. And many leaders move from meeting to meeting, conversation to conversation, problem to problem, with almost no mental transition in between. So even when you're physically present, mentally, you're often somewhere else, thinking about the next meeting, the unresolved issue, the email you forgot, or the deadline approaching. Being present takes mental space, and for many leaders, that space is already crowded by a lot of demands. So does having leadership presence really make a difference? Despite how challenging it is, presence is incredibly important, because presence is what creates connection. And connection is what builds trust, relationships, and influence. People don't just respond to what leaders say, they respond to how leaders show up. When a leader is truly present, people feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel valued. And that changes everything. Presence also shifts leadership from people follow because you're the boss to people follow because they want to. That distinction is the foundation of real leadership. Presence also keeps you informed. When you're distracted or half listening, you miss context, nuance, emotion, and important signals. How many times has somebody said to you, I already told you that, or we already covered that, or we went over that yesterday? Leaders who are present absorb far more of what's actually happening around them. So what exactly creates leadership presence? If presence is so important, how do we create more of it? And this is where leadership presence becomes practical, because presence is not accidental. It's on purpose, and it's a reflection of how you structure your leadership life. So now let's talk about a couple ways that you can structure your leadership life to create more leadership presence. One is to stop flying by the seat of your pants. Presence is very hard when your day feels reactive. One of the simplest ways to improve presence is clarity the night before, or for some of you, first thing in the morning. Ask what matters most tomorrow or today, what conversations require my attention, and what outcomes matter. If you've ever done any kind of planning with the Michael Hyatt tools, he always narrows things down to the big three. So what would be the big three that need to get done today that require your attention so that you can kind of put everything else in its proper place? So when you begin the day clear, your mind is quieter in the moment. Another thing you can do is to create margin in your schedule. And I know that I have the tendency to schedule meetings back to back, but I'm always my best when I've got at least 15 minutes in between, especially if a meeting runs over or I need time to prep for the next meeting, or just a bio need like a bathroom break or a snack. So create margin in your schedule. Back-to-back scheduling is the enemy of presence. Even 3 to 5 minutes between meetings changes things. It's a mental reset, emotional regulation, and attentional capacity. Margin is never wasted time. It's what makes presence possible. Another way that you can structure your leadership life is to stay ahead instead of constantly catching up. I know, sometimes easier said than done, but when leaders are perpetually behind, they carry anxiety into every interaction, and that anxiety pulls their attention away. So planning ahead, prioritizing, and pacing work reduces cognitive overload, which frees attention for people. So how do you pace work, time manage, all of those things? Well, part of that you might want to look at is delegating. So my next tip is delegate to protect leadership attention. Presence is not just about time, it's about cognitive load. If you are holding too many decisions, tasks, and details personally, your mental bandwidth shrinks. Delegation is not only about efficiency, it's about preserving the mental space required for leadership presence. It's also important to take care of yourself so that you can be present. Fatigue erodes presence. Stress fragments attention. Exhaustion narrows listening. Leaders sometimes try to create presence through willpower, but presence is strongly linked to rest, regulation, and capacity. You cannot give focused attention you don't have. And finally, make presence an intentional practice. Presence is not a personality trait, it's a behavioral choice. Small practices matter. Pause before entering meetings. Put devices away during conversations. Make eye contact. Listen fully before responding. Notice when your mind drifts. These are micro skills that compound into leadership presence. So in closing, leadership presence is not about being impressive. It's about being available. And in many ways, presence is one of the greatest gifts a leader can offer. Because when people experience a leader who is attentive, grounded, and fully there, they experience respect, safety, and value. And that's a competitive advantage. You want people to stick around and not go to your competitor? This is the secret sauce. So here's a simple reflection to leave you with. Where in your leadership might greater presence change the quality of connection? Because often, leadership doesn't require doing more. It requires being more fully where you already are. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Share it with a leader who needs it. I'll see you next time.
Like what you heard on today's episode and want to go deeper? Subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also pick up my book, Lead Anyone, on Amazon. Then, go to my website to check out ways that we can support your leadership goals. From executive retreats to customized training and coaching, my team of experts will help you level up your leadership and accelerate your results. Go to www.eliseboggs.com for more info.